growing up, my faith was always something that was very scripted, and like, not that I saw too much wrong with that before, but it was never something I connected with. It just was something that I did, and it was something that my parents instilled in me. But when I saw that their life has started to be affected by like other people and by other things, and I'm like, you guys are worshiping something that's allowing these things to happen. So for me, there was, for a while, a large schism between God and myself, because I'm like, I'm not understanding where this is coming from if they're worshiping you so hard. So I drifted away from God for like, I'd say from like the start of high school till like college. And when I got into college, I was always like, there's a lot going on throughout high school. Like the things that I said had affected my parents so much. And it started to breed a bit of anxiety for me because I started to try to become more self-sufficient. So I wouldn't have to, because I'm like, my parents have so much to deal with already. I don't want them to have to deal with me, even if like I'm like desperate for money for something, or even if I need something else. I like can't ask them. But then there was times where I'm like, I can't do it myself, but I don't want to ask them. So it caused me to like suffer from anxiety for a bit. And that happened for a while, and I would have like anxiety attacks constantly through like my senior year. And I would just kind of brush it off. It's like, all right, well, this just kind of comes with it. And then I got to college, and so I went on a retreat called Kairos in high school, and I had that retreat again when I came to Loyola. I was like, oh, okay, I went on this in high school. It seems pretty cool. I'll check it out. So then I went on the retreat, and like, one thing that the retreat that I got from it is like, I may not know who God is for me, but I know that He is there. And it's very interesting looking back. It's just like yesterday. So when I got back from Kairos, I went to have a conversation with Connor. I was like, oh, like we chilling tonight? And he was like, no, I'm getting closer to God. And I'm like, all right, like I just got back from retreat. Like, I get it. But then when I sat down and talked with him, I noticed like a complete change of the person that I was talking to. And I'm like, what happened while I was gone? He'd mentioned that he'd went to pray with Brady one night, and Connor was someone that was never really a person of faith. Like, he was just never really a person of faith. Like, he utterly shunned it in a lot of ways. So when he said that, I was like, huh. And then he told me about his experience in this prayer and how God is just moving through him and how he just became extraordinarily emotional. And like, just a lot of truths were shown to him. And I'm like, okay, well, what about like all the drinks and stuff that you had? And he's like, no, I threw those away. And I was like, you threw it away? And he's like, yeah, because I didn't want to benefit from any like money I could have gotten from it, because it would have just blinded me from God. And at that point, I was just like in utter shock. I was like, I don't know who this God is that you're talking about, but like, if He's causing you to do that, I got to figure out who that is for me. So then I started to go to InterVarsity a bit more, and I started to like figure out like how God is in my life through those experiences. And I joined small groups, and I was able to talk more with people. And like, while it wasn't necessarily clicking for me yet, I'm like, okay, like it's starting to click a bit. And then there was one night, I think Kevin Hula was giving the talk of securities, and I was like, for me, I put security in like music. Like, I love music. And then it was like, well, then you can go deaf. I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess. And then it's like, okay, well, then my friends. He's like, okay, but then your friends can leave. And I'm like, okay. And the essential message was that all these things are great, but they're temporary, and that God is forever. And for me, I was like, huh. I never really thought of it in that aspect. So then, I guess Connor must have noticed that I was like kind of puzzled by the conversation. So then I went with him and James to just kind of like talk over what was going on in my head. And they had asked me like, what is it that keeps you from like trusting God fully? And I'm like, it's so tough for me because like I want to, but like I've just seen all the things that have happened to people who trusted God, particularly my parents. And I'm like, how can I like just give up all angst to trust that if it's like not a sure thing? And I think their response to it was like probably like the best response I could have had. And it was just like, pray about it. And like I said, my prayers were always so scripted coming up. So like, I'd never really had a conversation with God before in that aspect. So like, when I started to pray, I was just like, okay, like, guess it's just like a conversation. And I remember I had planned on going to the FAC that night. It was like 9 o'clock. I was like, okay, I'll just do this and I'll go to the FAC. Then I ended up, a prayer that I expected to take 20 minutes ended up taking like 3 hours. And I was just like pouring my heart out after a while, like in an emotional mess. Like, I was like, wow, like, and a lot of me was just like, God, like, I don't know how to give up my trust, but like, I don't know, like, I want to trust in you and I don't have anywhere else to turn, so I give it to you. And then like the next 30 seconds after me crying, I felt like the most peaceful I've ever felt. And like, I guess I was 19 at that time, like 19 years to living. And like, it really stuck out to me that like, that space was provided. And like, I don't think God ever makes a mistake. And I don't think his timing is ever wrong. So I'm like, there's a reason that I was there at InterVarsity that night. Because I remember that night, it was like 7:45, I'm in my bed, and I'm like, all right, I'll probably just take a nap. And then Connor texted me, he's like, hey, you coming tonight, right? And I'm like, sure, you know? But like, little did I know that like, it was through those spaces and it was through those conversations, through those relationships that I built with my brothers in InterVarsity that like, God spoke to me in a way that I never expected.